Hi, welcome to World Sports Weekly. I'm your host, Natalie Rydstrom. The Ashes is finally set to begin this Wednesday, 10th of July. England have won the last two Ashes contests, but it's been Australia who have been the more dominant side over the past 3 decades. So can England make it a third win in a row, or is it Australia's turn to lift the urn? Joining us now is Richard O'Hagan, sports writer and regular contributor to SPR Forum, to preview all the betting odds for the Ashes 2013. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hi, Natalie.
Now, Richard, a lot of people, including the bookies, are saying that this is going to be an England win, as England have the better team. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's undeniable. England do have the better side on paper, but as we always say, games aren't played on paper. They're played on cold, hard turf here in Nottingham, and it is going to be a fantastic tournament no matter which way it goes. One of the things you can do is you can look at the averages of the players, and what you will see, Australia's batsmen on paper, they look weak. Only one proper batsman averaging over 40. But if you look at their bowlers, 3 of their main bowlers have got better bowling averages than England. That suggests to me that this is going to be a closer contest than people are predicting, and it is going to be a great 10 weeks of cricket, just competing for this one tiny trophy.
And would you say it's a good time now to place a bet on the outright winner? Can you see the value, say, decreasing or increasing in time?
Now is a very good time because whatever happens, someone's odds are going to shorten after this weekend. And it's going to either be an England win, so England will get even shorter than they are already, or if Australia win, people are going to perk up, and those odds are really going to come in. So if you're looking to back either of those two teams in the win market, you really need to be doing it now.
The two captains are clear favourites in the top batsman market. Are they a good bet, and which players should we consider?
Certainly both captains are there for a reason. Alastair Cook, he's been the mainstay of England's batting since 2006. And it's slightly surprising to discover that he's now coming up on almost 100 test match appearances. He's scored phenomenally quickly, he scored highly, he's the highest test match century maker for England with 25, so he is always going to be short odds in this market. For me, I'm not sure that his form has been that great this year. I've certainly seen him play better, and he might rise to the occasion. He actually brings out the best in some people, or he may get a little bit burdened by the pressure of captaining an England side in a big tournament for the first time. If that's the case, I'd be inclined to look at someone like Kevin Pietersen. He's coming back off injury. He's got a lot to prove. He has always said that he wants to finish his international career with 10,000 international runs. He's still 2,500 runs away from that. He's probably only got between 10 and 15 more test matches in which to make those runs. So I would say Pietersen is going to be a man on a mission this summer, and I'll be putting some money on him as well. On the Australia side, Michael Clarke has bucked the trend because most batsmen, when they become captain, their average starts to drop. Clarke has just scored run after run after run. But the big worry with him is he's had this back problem. It's kept him out of cricket for 3 months. He's come back with few ill effects, but the Australians were so worried that they brought Stephen Smith into the squad as an additional player to cover for him. I don't think we're going to see Clarke play in all of these 5 matches. So you've got to look to somebody else. You could look to Chris Rogers, who's only played 1 test match. He's 35, but he's been a huge run scorer in English conditions for the last 5 or 6 years. This could be a good time to back him. Another alternative would be someone like David Warner, the man who's become the bad boy of Australian cricket, is going to have a real point to prove in this series. And he is the nearest other batsman than Clarke to having a 40 run per innings average. So again, possibly splitting your money there between Rogers and David Warner.
Okay, moving to a top Australian bowler, that seems to be quite a difficult pick here, as even they don't seem to know who their bowling attack are. Now, who have you gone for here?
I've gone again for 2 players here, Natalie. Peter Siddle, who I think is going to be the workhorse of the Australian attack. He's the guy who became a vegetarian 18 months ago and suddenly saw a massive increase in his fitness. Not sure quite why that should be, although I do know that the Australian medical team have been stuffing him full of supplements ever since then because they don't believe he's getting the necessary nutrition to be able to compete as a fast bowler. But he's a man who I suspect will be the only one of their pace attack to actually make it through all 5 test matches. Also, we've been told that these pitches are going to be slower and drier than the average English pitch because they know that England have the best spin bowler in Graham Swan. That means the Australians' one frontline spinner, Nathan Lyon, is going to play all 5 test matches and he's going to get a lot of bowling. So I'm also going for him in this market because, again, I think he's just going to have the presence actually on the pitch to pick up wickets.
Okay, now looking just at the first test, where's your money going here?
My money is actually going on a draw for this first game. It's going to be a big occasion. There's going to be a lot of nerves. There's possibly going to be some quite poor cricket played in this game. It's going to be a long, hot 5 days in Nottingham, and I don't see either side particularly gaining an edge here. They're both going to be trying to get themselves into a winning position, not going to be too adventurous, sometimes not even going to be too attacking, I suspect. And I think we could be seeing a draw play out, which is the outside bet at the moment in the market. So it's definitely a good option to go for.
Okay, well, we've discussed a few markets, and as we mentioned in our previous show, there is a lot of markets to bet on here for the Ashes. Last show there was 18 different markets, and now Bet365 have 26. So what are your top 3 markets you'd recommend we focus on?
My top 3 markets was certainly for this test match. I think we've talked about what I'm betting on for the result. You've also got in several places a double chance option, whereby you can bet on 2 of the 3 potential options. So an England win, an Australia win, or a draw. You will get reasonably short odds, but as I always say, even money is still winning money, and you get even money on certainly an Australia win or a draw, or on an England win or a draw. So you've got your choices there. I'll definitely be looking at who's going to be the top run scorer for both teams actually in this test match. Again, Kevin Peterson's my choice for England because he's actually going back to his old home ground. He did leave Nottinghamshire a long time ago, but it's somewhere that he's always felt he has to perform and try to prove a point to the county that he thought were not giving him the chances in county cricket to make it into the test side. And finally, here is a wonderful, wonderful market on top South African batsmen, which might seem a little bit idiosyncratic, but 3 of England's best batsmen were born in South Africa. So this is where you're betting on either Peterson, Jonathan Trott, or Matt Pryor to be the top run scorer for England. And I think that's a great little market to have some fun in.
Okay, wonderful. Now, Richard, before I let you go, one final question here. As we all know, the Ashes is a bit of an unusual series. So are there any unusual markets that interest you?
Well, certainly that top South African one is one I think that's going to run and run. You can also bet on interesting little things in this series, like number of stumpings. Now, number of stumpings is significant because of the England wicketkeepers. Matt Pryor does very well standing up to the stumps. He's got Graham Swan bowling to him. He gets lots of opportunities for stumpings. So you probably want to go long on the number of stumpings that he's going to make. Whereas you look at the Australians, and you've got Brad Haddin, who's played 40-odd test matches and only ever picked up half a dozen stumpings, or Matthew Wade, who's played a dozen and picked up 3. Either of those will be behind the stumps for this series. So you probably want to go short on Australian stumpings. But again, it's an interesting market, and it's not one I've seen before apart from in the Ashes.
That's certainly right. Richard, thanks once again for joining us today.
You're very welcome, Natalie.